Mayor, welcome to the program here. Let's start wide. Rain and some other wells that have been dug there along the coastal bend seem to have helped the water situation in Corpus Christi. Give us an idea, though, right now, how critical is water?
Critical water is very, very critical. The recent rains, and we've had several events, have really made a difference. So it has what has happened is by the rain that we've received in our reservoirs, it has pushed out when we would have to call a level 1 emergency. So far out to say an entire year to the end of next year. So more so than a year, and so that's a very good news. But that does not mean we relax. There has to continue to be a sense of urgency.
Tell us about that, because if this recent rain and the wells have helped, I mean, have you guys found a solution here without having to worry about desal?
No, no. The answer is no. And if anyone says otherwise, they're wrong because we right now we are solely relying on surface water, which is a problem because we've been in a drought for 5 years, and we are now relying on groundwater wells that we have been drilling, I'm sorry, and pumping. The second really online project, and the only other online project, has been water reuse. So we have partnered with Flint Hills, and and it's not that much, but at the end of the year, it will be, I think it was about 10 MGD, million gallons of water per day, that will end up coming out of that program, meaning 10 million gallons a day will come off of our water supply that currently goes to Flint Hills per se, and they will use reuse water, which gives us that 10 million. So those are great
Gotcha.
projects, but those aren't completely online. The groundwater wells we're pumping, that reuse program, we might get 2 MGD here eventually, and then in the end, meaning next year, it would go up to probably 10.
And MGD is million gallons per day, but going up to 10 million, that still doesn't. It sounds like a lot, but that still doesn't solve the problem that the city has.
Correct. It is not a lot in terms of the big picture. The city of Corpus Christi utilizes about 130 to 150 million gallons of water a day. In any, I mean that's our usage. So we're not there. We're not there. And we've been in a 5-year drought. No one can control that. But we've been very innovative, and we are looking, and we're putting water projects online, but they take time. I think you're very familiar with our desalination project.
And let's talk about that for a moment here. You're pushing for council to finally move forward and approve the Inner Harbor desalination plant. There's not a majority on council, from what I can tell, though, that supports that. Why not, after all this time, and because of the situation you guys face?
Right. So that has been a project of contention, unfortunately. It has been a project that has been worked on for over 10 years. About 20 months ago, we had a new council that came on, and they halted the project. We had Kiewit. They were on board as the contractor. They were essentially fired, and so we lost a year. They didn't believe that project was something that should move forward. I vehemently disagree with that, and so did a few other council members. But as you know, the majority rules, and so that was halted. Another contractor came in, Acciona, but mind you, that cost $50 million to let them go. Okay, so there's always a price to pay. Every delay, it costs money, amongst other things. And so we do have Acciona on, they're the new contractor for the Inner Harbor. Here about a month ago or so, the contract was brought forward to take the design from 10% to 60%. The same 5 council members voted it down, and so another delay. It was brought back. Pardon?
Well, let me ask you this, Mayor. What's this all about? Is it about money? Is it about this not being the right project? What do you think's behind council not finally moving forward with this project that the city has worked on for a decade?
I can't speak to the motivations of council members. I can't speak to their motivations, but what I can say is that there have been plenty of opportunities, as I'm explaining, to move forward this great project. We live on the coast. There's a big body of water right down the street from me. And you can go talk to anyone in West Texas, Central Texas, where you can't afford to build a pipeline because it's millions upon millions of dollars. And we have it here in our backyard. But the most important part of this and what we're seeing to maybe answer your question to some degree is the environmental aspect of this. But I'm going to remind you that this project and the environmental aspect of it had the most rigorous of oversight under the Biden administration. Not only did the Biden administration approve this through the EPA, which is hardly ever done, but in our case, the EPA did look at this project and its environmental impact. But of course, the state looked at it too, TCEQ. We used their modeling to move forward the proof of we're going to be okay in the end with not hurting the environment. But it's, again, controversial. So you have people that say, well, you might have that science, but we don't agree with it. We have this science. And it can go back and forth all day.
Is the issue, Mayor, that the Inner Harbor desalination plant would discharge brine into the bay there? Is that the concern?
Yes, and that it's going to harm the ecosystem. But again, we have data that proves that it is not. We have approval from the EPA. That's like the Pope saying, I'm going to baptize you. You can't get better than that. So, I can't speak for their individual motivations, but I can say that delays cost money. And my focus as the mayor of Corpus Christi is to deliver a long-term water solution to this community. We are the regional water producers. So this isn't just about Corpus Christi. This is about multiple counties, 7 counties that we provide water to, or about 600,000 people.
Yeah. Have you thought at all that, after a decade of trying to get this through, I know it wasn't all you, but after a decade of the city working on this, millions of dollars spent, if there's not an appetite for this now, is it time to walk away from the Inner Harbor desalination plant?
No, it's not time to walk away, because we have worked so hard. It took 5 years just to get the permit. And unfortunately, yes, in this political term, we have 5 council members who are vehemently against it.
But what's the option then? Are you hoping that someone else gets elected that might finally approve this?
No, we have elections in November. And we have invested way too much time and millions of dollars into this. The state of Texas has afforded us $757 million in low interest loans. I know it's a loan, but you do the math. When you're getting a loan at 3% versus private sector 8%,
right,
you're saving some serious taxpayer dollars. We must move forward. We are blessed. We're Corpus Christi. That's, the body of Christ. We have water in our backyard. And we are holding this up time after time after time. There's nothing I can do about it. It's about a majority, but in the end, I don't think we give up on it. It's just been too much time and work for multiple councils in the last couple of decades.
Do you expect there will be, or will you campaign against any of these majority candidates who don't want this in order to finally get Inner Harbor passed?
Well, I mean, we believe me, we have some serious heated discussions, and have, because it's torn. And you have the public who also, there was a poll the other day, 60%. I was just told that 60% of the people want, or 66% want desalination. So that's not the first poll that says that either. I think the majority of our community does want that, and they rely on their elected officials to push what is best for this community through. And running out of water is not what is best. It's utilizing what projects we have. Unfortunately, we've come to where we are today, but I'm optimistic. It isn't dead. We did change out we have a new contractor. So it's still moving forward. We'll see what happens here in the next few months.
What's the next step then? You're optimistic about this, but the majority on council says, no, we're not interested. How do you get it across the finish line?
And that's the funny part. They're not saying we're not interested. So if you're saying you're not interested, you need to walk the walk. So where we are now is they wanted again, we had all the science, but they wanted a far field, what's called a far field study to
Study,
take
right?
place. So I think we had a more of a near field, or nonetheless, we're doing the far field study. It actually came back, and there was something specific that was pointed out, and they said, no, we want that to be looked into and studied. So now that's what's happening. September 1 is the date it comes back to this council. And so that it meaning that study.
Right.
So
But
we'll see what happens.
you've seen delay after delay. The far field study is the latest thing that they're asking for. I mean,
Right.
is it all going to be resolved once this comes back, or do you think that they're going to ask for something else?
You know, when you look back at one's the path, right, the pattern, my answer to that would be they're going to look for something else. But I'm optimistic. I'm optimistic because they all know, we all know as a council, our city manager knows this is the only shovel ready project. The governor has spoken. He has said that $757 million in low interest loans is only for this project. He said that through the TCEQ, but nonetheless, everything is lined up for this project. And so, to not move forward, which that has not happened, they have not voted to, do away with desal and just not consider it anymore in the future. We're inching our way. But if you look at the pattern, no, it doesn't look great. But I'm going to stay optimistic because you never know. And this has been too much work, and it means too much to our community.
Do you expect a binding vote on September 1st or soon after about finally moving forward with Inner
Yes,
Harbor?
soon after. Yeah, because
Do
September
you think
1st.
that can pass? Do you think it can pass?
I do. I think it can. Will it? We'll see.
I have a few more questions for you on this too. I was reading about the Inner Harbor plant, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but it could produce or will be able to produce up to 30 million gallons of water per day, which is a fraction of what you said the city actually uses. Is this the right project if it doesn't produce enough?
It is, because we're not relying. Remember, what we're trying to do here is diversify our water portfolio. So we're not trying to use any one avenue for our water supply. We have to have our groundwater wells, for example. Our Mary Roads pipeline that was expanded to bring on an additional 25 million gallons of water. The water reuse. Desalination is another piece of that diversification, because you can't pump groundwater wells 24/7 for the next 10 years. I mean, that's just, you can't do that. You have to be able to turn this off, turn that on, turn this off, and turn that, that kind of thing. And so that's called diversification. And that's very important. And so that is what we're trying to do. So 30 MGD is actually, it is a good number, because at the same time, Jason, we don't want to overproduce. You must have a buyer. Otherwise, your ratepayer ends up paying for something no one's using.
Good point on that too. But just to clarify, on after September 1st, once the far field study comes back, what makes you think that the majority might finally say yes to this?
Well, because you can only kick the can down the road. It's so long. And honestly speaking, a decision just needs to be made. It just needs to be made one way or the other. Just continuing to say, well, this is not enough science, or that's not enough science, or we didn't go out to the bay far enough, or the, Sphero's report didn't give us whatever aspect of, how the impact, what the impact is on the ecosystem. It's a constant kicking the can. And I have more of an appreciation of just make a decision and let's move on.
But you're optimistic, though, that something's going to happen?
I am optimistic, because I think that, the entire council knows, they understand, they know what has been put into this. The science is there. You can't argue it. You can choose not to believe it, but you can't argue it. You can't say the EPA didn't give us a blessing to move forward this project under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
That's a pretty big deal. So I have to stay optimistic that maybe one of them will say, you know what, if we don't do this, the amount of taxpayer dollars that are going to go down the drain, no pun intended, is immense. And that is not doing right by the community.
Are you able to work in the background, whip votes on this to try to convince any of them?
Well, no, we don't work in the background, Jason.
All right, all right. A
Yeah,
couple last questions here. There are two other projects that I've been told about that could potentially produce a ton more water than the Inner Harbor desalination plant. The Harbor Island plant that the Nueces County River Authority is working on. I understand it's gone through a number of setbacks. Barney Davis project's another one a little farther down the road. But at what point should the city move on from Inner Harbor and look at these other ones that could produce a ton more water?
it's not really about that. We are looking at both of those. Here's the problem. Inner Harbor is the only shovel ready project that we can really consider. Barney Davis is we're talking to them. I mean, we're at the premature
Very
stage,
early.
very early.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not saying that that is absolutely. I'm the one that brought that back to the table from years back. So, do I believe in Barney Davis as a location for desalination? Absolutely. But that will end up being a second desalination plant once we have the customer base for that water. Harbor Island, I mean, that one's even further out, in my opinion. There's a lot of issues they're having right now,
Yeah.
and if you don't have the funding, there's so many different pieces to, having a shovel ready desalination plant built. Ours is 30 mgd. It has taken over 10 years, but you could say around 10 to 12 to get to where we are today. So you're talking about 150 mgd. That's a huge. I'm not saying it can't be done. Absolutely can be done. And we even put in $2.7 million for reservation as a reservation fee for water if and when it got built. But right now, I see what's happening over there is not something that's going to move forward this project at this time. And I really hope that they can get their issues resolved.
There's a developer named Kyle Bass who's trying to develop water out of East Texas and sell it to different parts of the state in need. Have you all heard from Kyle Bass or any of his companies?
We've not heard from him, but we've heard about him. Yeah, we're familiar.
Okay. And
Yeah.
the last question I have for you here too is how big of an issue do you expect water to be in the November election there in the city?
Huge. Number one.
Is
gonna
is it going to impact incumbents, do you think?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It's going to be number one, Jason. It's going to be a number one issue because of our situation. And that's months away. Early voting starts end of October, mid to end of October. So water is going to be a very big topic in this next election.
Do you expect water to cost any incumbents their jobs?
I think that's probably fair to say.
Mayor, we appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.